Hey everyone, welcome to the NerdNest, my channel all about the gaming industry. In today's video, I've got a few stories for you. First, I want to talk about yet another win for the Steam Deck, coming from a publisher that you probably would not expect. I also want to talk about what Valve is doing to make our lives easier, and then finally I'll discuss some information that has been leaked from legal documents about Valve, as well as a personal win at the end of the video. But before we get to that, I just want to apologize about the audio today. As you can see, I recently made some significant changes to my studio, and because honestly, I just needed more room. Right now, while I'm waiting for shelves, most of my stuff is in boxes, and that adds a bunch of echo to the audio, so I'm sorry about that. But rest assured, it's a temporary issue. So if you're subscribed, just know it'll get fixed soon enough. And if you're not subscribed, help me out. I just hit 70,000. I would absolutely love to hit 100,000 by the end of the year. So get comfortable, get subscribed, and let's get started. First story kind of shocked me. Dragon Age Veilguard is not only Steam Deck verified well ahead of launch, but on top of that, it also does not require the EA app. EA has been notorious for breaking their games on the Steam Deck thanks to DRM and launchers, and they're not the only ones. Capcom added DRM to Monster Hunter Rise after the game was already out and already working fantastically well on the Steam Deck. In fact, it was working so well, after buying it on the Nintendo Switch and dumping 50 hours into it, I ended up buying it again for the Steam Deck and dumping another 150 hours into that game. And that's significant because that game didn't have crossplay, it didn't have cross progression, so I had to throw away a 50-hour character and start from scratch. The game ran fantastically well on the deck, only for Capcom to cut the legs out from under it by adding DRM after the fact. Then there's Ubisoft. February last year, Ubisoft had their launcher, Ubisoft Connect, I think it's called. It broke games like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, The Division 2, Watch Dogs Legion, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. All of them became unplayable on Steam Deck and Linux. Ubisoft's reply was a lot less welcome than Capcom's. They said, yeah, that's a Valve problem. We just make sure that our games run on PC, and by PC, they mean Windows. Valve, of course, stepped up and fixed things, but honestly, it's yet again another example of these companies not thinking about what their actions are going to do to people who are playing on systems like the Steam Deck that are not Windows-based systems. I don't think that these publishers are doing this out of malice. It's more that they just don't care. Deck users and people who play games on Linux are a very small segment of the gaming population. So small, in fact, that many publishers just forget about us. Back when the Steam Deck was first announced, I suggested that eventually the gamers that play mostly on the Steam Deck would grow to a size large enough that they couldn't just be brushed off so easily. Like I said earlier in the video, EA has a track record of breaking games on the deck over and over again. And Valve always comes in to clean up their mess. They come into the rescue. At times in the past, they've broken A Way Out, Battlefield games, Dead Space games, FIFA games, Madden games, Need for Speed games, and that's just a few examples. Now, it seems like EA is taking a different approach this time, as they posted this on their Steam store page. It says, quote, "We're making great progress towards our fall launch date and can confirm early that Dragon Age, the Veilguard, is going all in on Steam features. We're verified on Steam Deck, will be Steam native, meaning the EA app will not be required to play the game." End quote. It's starting to look like the cracks are starting to show in the resistance to Valve's operating system, and that shouldn't really surprise anyone. In just the last year, the percent of people playing games on Steam Deck has gone up. This was posted over on Gaming on Linux, and big thanks to my friend Fan the Deck for finding it for me. I remembered the details, but I couldn't remember where I'd seen it. It shows how Linux has grown over time. It shows a slow upward trajectory, but if you look at the end of it, since the Steam Deck launched, it's rapidly accelerated. In fact, I think that the number of people playing on Linux has doubled in the last year. Yes, it's still a very small fragment of the population. Most people are playing on Windows, but How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I do think it's important to point out that EA going all in on Steam doesn't mean that they're going to ditch the nonsense on their other titles. This is a single player game, and EA is doing everything to get people interested in it. They've stated that you can play it entirely offline and it won't have any microtransactions. They even said our focus is on making, quote, our focus is on making this the most complete single player game we possibly can, end quote. Focusing on the Steam Deck seems like an easy thing to do, also to garner some positive attention. Let's look at Elden Ring, for example. That game launched essentially the same day as the original Steam Deck did. Valve even had a hand in making it run really well on the deck due to their pre-compiled shaders. I've said in the past that I think that the convergence of Elden Ring, which is considered to be one of the all-time greatest games, and the Steam Deck is what helped propel the deck forward into the limelight. But I also think that this goes both ways. It's possible that the deck pumped Elden Ring up a notch as well, as the Steam Deck SEO was intense around launch time. So Elden Ring just kept getting pushed in front of people talking about the Steam Deck. I think EA saw that. They saw how Linux and SteamOS is growing in the industry, and they said, we can do this too. Let's get this game verified and really push how well it runs on handheld PCs, because it will top out our SEO and it'll help the game grow. Moving on to the second story today, and that's that there's new updates to Steam in general that makes using Steam Next Fest events even better, and it's going to be a big improvement on the Steam Deck. And that's Valve's update to how they handle demos on Steam. So what exactly did Valve change? One thing that we used to have to run into is being able to add a game demo to your library without installing it at that moment. This is something that I wanted to do for a long time. I love the Steam Deck, but I hate browsing the store and events pages on the actual Steam Deck. It's slow and overall a bad experience. Most of the time when I want to get a game for Steam, I look for it in a browser or on my phone, or if I sit down at a computer, I actually launch Steam there. This is especially true for big events like Steam Next Fest, where if you don't know about that, Steam Next Fest is an event that happens multiple times per year. The next one's in October, I think, where tons of games get demos for you to try out. It's a fantastic way to try before you buy for a bunch of games, and even some bigger AAA games. Being able to scroll through this in a browser or on my phone and then just click Add to Library is way easier than grabbing the Steam Deck and installing the 30 demos that I want to try, especially if you have yet to update your storage or if you haven't put a new SD card in. By the way, if you're thinking about adding more storage to your Steam Deck, I have a few links in the description down below that like button that you're definitely going to want to check out. But that isn't even the best part of this. In addition, demos will now be removed from your library when you uninstall the game. Thank God. If you add a lot of demos to your library like I do, they can start to clutter up your library. If I decided I don't actually want this game and I delete the game, then why would the demo stay in my library? That makes no sense, especially because demos sometimes just go away. So I'm really glad that Valve will automatically remove demos. But that isn't the best part either. The best part is that you have games added to your wish list and a demo becomes available, you'll get a notification. If you're very much against getting notifications, you can opt out or in, depending on what you prefer, in your notification preferences in Steam. One thing that I think is still going to be pretty confusing is the fact that some demos will have their own page, while other demos will be on the main page of the game that the demo is from. This is up to each publisher individually to determine how they want to do it. The reason Valve is doing it this way is because some devs have asked them to. They want to have special videos that are just for the demos or be able to include more information for the demo. And it makes a lot of sense, but I just wish Valve would insist on consistency across the board. But you know what? There's only so many people working on Steam. That was a loud truck. There's so many people working on Steam right now that I really can't complain about it. How many people are working on Steam? Well, that brings us to our third story today, which is some information that was leaked from Valve's lawsuit. Valve is currently under fire in an antitrust lawsuit brought against Valve by Wolfire in 2021. And, whenever there's a lawsuit, there's what we call discovery. Basically, lawyers get to ask for a bunch of documents about the participants in the lawsuit. A lot of it ends up redacted so that we can't see that stuff, but the lawyers get to see it. But there's always some interesting bits of info for us to take a look at. The interesting information here, Valve has only 80 people working on Steam. Wait, 79. 79. That's crazy. Valve has thousands of new games released on Steam every single year. In 2021, there were 10,000 games launched on Steam. Not 10,000 games total on Steam, 10,000 new games launched on Steam. And Valve is consistently making big changes to Steam, either through SteamOS or through Steam in general. Hell, just in the last few months, we've had update after update after update. And the most important big update that came recently, Valve introduced game recording feature to Steam. Everyone, myself included, talked about how cool of a feature that was for the Steam Deck, but it wasn't just on the Steam Deck. It was also on every Steam platform. You just had to opt into the beta. Steam is the biggest game platform that exists, and to have that guided into place by just 80 people, that's crazy. But you know what else is crazy? I'm in a video game. A while back, I had Gardner Bryant on the podcast to promote his game Doodlings. It's kind of like volleyball meets foosball. It's really weird, but it's also really fun. Well, he just dropped the first DLC for the game, and both myself and Rich from Fan the Deck are announcers in the game now. So yeah, I'm in a video game. Looks like we're heading into overtime. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get ready for sports ball. And it looks like there is a timeout on the field.
Okay, we're back. And the home team scores.
Absolutely crazy. But you know what's not crazy? Watching this video right here. YouTube seems to think you'll like it. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everybody.